We'll just go live. Hey, what's going on, guys? Alan here from Blendlogic. I got Jordan Lawley, NBA skills trainer out in California. We've been working together on his website and digital products for about 3 years. Jordan, how is it going, man?
Yeah, it's going good. We're out here in California right now. We got my gym kind of moving. We got a couple 30-day transformation guys in here. We got my trainers that are on staff, about ready to engage in some lighthearted one-on-one. So some fun times going on over here in Irvine.
Awesome, man. It's been a while, man. We've been working like about 3 years together now, and man, we've been blowing up your trainer's guide series, and now
Yes.
I'm excited to have you on because we're going to be talking about basically there's a list of questions that I have from people in the trainer's guide, and hopefully this video, this stream, if you're watching, will help answer any questions you have for the program. So Jordan, if you just want to do a quick recap on kind of what trainer's guide series is all about.
Yeah, so our Trainers Guide to Success, there is so many people out there, so many people that are looking to get into the training market. And it's crazy to think that, we've kind of built this profession out of thin air. 10 years ago, not even 10 years ago, 7 years ago, and now we have a bunch of high school kids. I have a bunch of college, players, a bunch of college, aspiring coaches that are reaching out to me on a daily basis, asking for guidance, asking for direction on how to go about making basketball training, skills training, their business, their passion, their career. And it's cool because, for a lot of trainers now that right now that are in the industry, there's no real, guidance, as far as, how to run a proper business and how to, deal with marketing, how to build an image and how to handle or conduct yourself on the court in front of your clients, in front of your customers. So giving our trainers a guide, a map, if you will, on how to run their business, how to start, and then how to sustain and run their business, so that way success can come out of it. Because a problem that we're foreseeing, and I know this isn't a very difficult problem to overcome, but a problem nonetheless, is the fact that their market is so dense for trainers. Like if you throw a rock, you can hit, especially out here in California, if I threw a rock out there, I could hit probably 17, skills trainers just that are, local to me. And our trainers, new age trainers that are coming into this, need to figure out ways to differentiate themselves, need to figure out what it's going to take to build a business model and to sustain their business, from here on out. Because if we're deciding to make this, this a career choice, make this a profession, we have to understand that we have to be professional through the process. So our Trainer's Guide to Success has done a phenomenal job of giving giving trainers that edge over their competition, and allowing them to understand what it takes in order to better themselves both on the court as teachers and behind the scenes as businessmen.
Awesome. So I guess I'll just lead it off with what I've noticed working with some of the clients in Trainer's Guide, and also seeing them progress through the program. Something that I see a lot is there's for a lot of early trainers, their questions are like the mindset of kind of reaching the success levels that you have achieved through social media. And how would you describe the current technology state, and how your program helps
Yeah, so it's very, very easy to get wrapped up into wanting that instantaneous stardom, especially now when we live in an Instagram or a Twitter or a Vine, back when Vine was Vine. We have that mentality where everything needs to be instant gratification. If I want to be successful, I need to be successful tomorrow, let alone tomorrow, today. And for trainers, when you're building yourself, when you're building a brand or building your image and coming up in this industry, you have to understand that it's a gradual success. Like, you have to break away at these milestones. You have to make sure that you're building relationships that are going to help build your business, later on. And relationships, especially within this industry, aren't something that are just immediately built overnight. There's a basketball community is extremely small, and I think a lot of people kind of see this as a daunting image. They think, oh man, I'm not going to be able to make it as an NBA skills trainer or as an elite level skills trainer because I don't have the basketball pedigree. That's a farce. Like, your basketball pedigree means absolutely zero. Like, yes, does it help if you can play the sport and play it at a high level to train and demonstrate? Yes. But if you are knowledgeable on how to, speak and how to eloquently communicate with your clients and how to engage with your customers, that's when you can start really separating yourself and start learning that it's these gradual successes. It's the little successes that happen on a month-to-month basis that are going to set you up for that inevitable success and fame later on. And especially from like an Instagram, fame setting, like that's not something that happened overnight for me. Like that was something that it was consistent work, especially with social media. Like social media is like meals. Every single day when you wake up, you have to eat in order to sustain life. Well, for social media, like especially for Instagram, you have to have your breakfast, your lunch, and your dinner posts, and then some snacks, sprinkled in, around throughout your social calendar. And it doesn't happen by just saying, oh man, I'm going to make this, this filet mignon post, and I'm going to have this thing is so sick, and I'm going to spend an hour just posting it. I'm going to spend 4 hours editing it, and then you go to post it, and you literally have 40% of your normal engagement. You have all these failed, in your eyes, failed perception of, you not making a proper post or a post that's legitimate. And you get caught up in just those one-time things, those one-time successes or those one-time failures. I can post 3 times a day. One post might flop and not get any views because the Instagram algorithm is so randomized. But 2 of them might hit and might blow up and go viral. And that's what we want, is we want to make sure that we're continuing to push each day and just push and be consistent with the way we post and the way we want to run our business. I'm not just going to lose sleep over one of those, small time failures or one of those immediate short-term failures. I'm going to continue to chip away at this success, reach for those minute, minuscule successes in the short term, so that way I can build success for the long term, build up a bigger plan in the long term.
I agree with you 100%. And I see you're still using the filet mignon. I remember when I went to one of your camps, that was one of your pictures, and I was like,
oh, that's the best, baby.
You gotta trim the fat. I remember you're like, don't do these fancy moves, just go straight to the basket. I like it. So I'm just going to read a question from Lysandra. She's in the program, and she asks, so I quote, I question whether or not I am a good trainer. I'm always looking for the credit or accreditation. As of late, I got back into the I'm Possible training gameplay certification. I'm on my way to being official, but how do you deal with any doubts that you may endure as an upcoming trainer?
So that's one of the biggest things as trainers, especially new age trainers, that you're going to struggle with. And it comes from an athletic, mindset. Like we hold ourselves so accountable with our immediate actions. And if I do bad, or if I miss a shot, I immediately hold that as a pride thing. With training, you don't get the instant gratification all the time. So you have to be so conscientious of every move, because a lot of times, when you do something that you think might be an extremely, well thought out training technique or teaching method, and your player doesn't acknowledge it, or your player doesn't accept it, doesn't accept it and can't learn the concept, that could be really disheartening to have to deal with and to struggle with. So doubt starts crowding our judgment, and the fear of failure is probably one of the biggest, problems, or one of the biggest crushes to trainers in this industry. You have a fear of failing or not being a great trainer, and you hold on to, or you're looking to try to find every little bit of gratification, whether it be from a client, a consumer, another trainer. And in actuality, when you're starting up your training business, it's those failures that you need to hold on to as being a pillar, a stepping stone for your career moving forward. So I would say embrace, those failures. Embrace the struggle of saying, hey, look, I'm not, I might not be a good trainer now, or, with you, the second you start doubting yourself and starting to hold everything internally, is the second you're going to lose focus on what this beginning stages of your training career is meant for. They're meant for failures. They're meant for, learning, our growth opportunities, and growing from those things that we're finding ourselves in. And that's where I would say, and as part of our Trainer's Guide to Success, have a core unit of trainers that you look up to. Like for me, it was like 4 trainers that I really thought that were doing a phenomenal job. And if I ever was doing something where I didn't think that I was, really, being efficient for my clients, or I thought that, I was kind of stuck in a rut, I would reach out to them and I would communicate with them. I let them know, be brutally honest, like, hey, I don't think I'm doing a really good job as of late, teaching this mechanic, or I'm starting to doubt myself, in this. And that's where you start you get ideas bounced back off of you, and you start getting those critiques, and you start getting those things that, you need to survive, because that's where our gratification will come from, is our colleagues, and this goes back, that fear of failure goes back to, us having this pride issue, where we think that every other trainer in this industry is out for our clientele, and they're not willing to help us throughout this process. That is a big farce. Like, that is the biggest farce of this community. There is so much
100%.
There is so much out there for us. So that we off of you, not just all that stuff. It's gonna be up under.
All right. So to kind of have a slight switch, Jordan, I believe there was some interference on the ending part of your answer. So if there could be some adjustments, getting some feedback, you just do some mic testing. I'll probably edit this out. Jordan, I'd just like to get like a testing of your mic for a bit.
Testing.
Okay. It sounds kind of like you're cutting in and out. Is it? Do you know if it's your connection? The Skype says mine is slow. Let me see if that's an issue. Can you keep testing again?
Testing.
Okay, you're coming in good. So.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
All right.
Over.
All right.
Come on, get with the program.
No, it's okay. It's I always feel that when I post these things live or even unedited, it shows the authenticity of. That's a big thing I've been pushing towards the people I've been working with, is being congruent and almost to the point where it's answering some of these questions I have of like wanting to be perfect or wanting to have some kind of like version that you record that's perfect, instead of just trusting in what you were saying in the failures, kind of to reiterate your answer. So I'll lead right in back into another question, and this kind of goes to any trainers who are kind of already established but now looking to grow their business. So I think a lot of things that people don't realize in the Trainer's Guide series, and even if they have questions on it who aren't in it now, is the access they get to you on you have a handle, Jordan Law, J Law B-Ball Premium. And so that's kind of a way, besides this interview, value of joining this program is to be able to communicate with Jordan. And he answers questions like what this video will be showcasing. But to get to the question, this one's specific towards how you formulate your drills or what you post. So Andrew asks from the UK, How do you go about tailoring your workouts to the skill set of the clients that you're working with?
So each one is pros and group session. There's so many different. Like, I'll just give you guys a down on those differences. I have a professional and private training. I'm going to make sure that we have their deficiencies and that we make sure to stay in depth mentality with training. I don't want to go too wide with the amount of concepts that we're teaching on a short time span. I want to delve deep into the root of the concepts, skill mechanics, concepts, move managements, whatever it may be. So that way we can create this foundation, a fundamental foundation for each concept that we're working toward, work towards succeeding at. When we succeed, or when we develop that mechanic, then we'll move on to the next. But each one is going to be tailored around building their weaknesses and then allowing them to succeed within the positions they're going to find themselves throughout the course of their gameplay. Now, not everything is going to be just based around weaknesses. A lot of times, we'll compile and we'll give them stuff that's outside the box and allow them to develop other footwork and body mechanic drills. But for the most part, we're going to dive into, we have a depth versus width mentality where we focus more on extending and making those skill concepts a little bit more extensive with their intellectual concepts that we're going to put forth. So for a pro, that would be it. For a amateur player, if I'm going into a private session, I'm going to make sure that we have a strong basis for a basis of failure, a basis of lower level of play. I'm going to make sure we have a basis and a floor for every mechanic, every skill set that we're trying to accomplish and develop. So whether it be ball handling, shooting, your finishing around the rim, mid-range, second-tier finishes, footwork, body control, shiftability, we're going to make sure that they have a benchmark where, as we build up, say a player starts, down here in the gutter, we want to get them to here on every category. So that way we have a strong foundation. We're building that foundation. We're building the ground floor for that player. I'm not just going to do one or two or even three different things. I'm going to make sure I chip away at every little skill concept, so that way we can build a proper foundation, for our player. Now, when you get into group sessions, that's when it starts getting a little bit different in the way you handle your training concepts and handle your direction, because you have multiple people, possibly in multiple different skill sets, which for ours, we usually have grab bags during our weekly sessions. We'll do, have elite level players, and we'll have some introductory level players, and we break them up inside sides of the court. But we want to stick with one or two skill concepts that we progress, and we build these progressions starting from stationary ball handling work. Then we focus on ball manipulation and body control, body handling work. Then we go into progressive actions, finishing around the rim. Then we go into mid-range or second-tier finishes, and then we finish off with perimeter actions or game situations. And even though we have different, skill sets, possibly different skill sets, we make sure to give each client and focus on each client's individual needs. So, say if I have an elite level player mixed into a group session with an introductory level player, I will try to give the elite level player a couple of different options they can use out of it that are more elite level to give them different scoring opportunities. Still the same concept, still building the same foundation, the same fundamental foundation that the introductory level player will have and the elite player will exceed at, but now I'm going to challenge that elite level player by giving them a couple of different scoring options. And I think that's a huge thing, especially through your group training sessions, is make sure you challenge every player, every individual that's in the session. You don't want to make it too easy. You also don't want to make it too easy for the elite level player, and you don't want to make it too hard for that introductory level player, because you would then leaving food on the plate, or you're not maximizing the level of attentiveness and the level of intrigue to come back into the gym to get better with it.
Awesome. Yeah, I agree with you 100%, and I even think of kind of life that way, like pushing myself, challenging myself. I think sometimes when gets too easy, or I'm not pushing myself hard enough, I'm not seeing the results in the gym or the results that I'm looking for. So yeah, man, you're crushing these answers. They're helpful for me as well. So so this one's from Trone. He says, I'm trying to reach out to AAU teams. I'm having some difficulty in kind of networking. What is the best way to reach out and get responses, and what are the ways that worked for you?
Especially nowadays, when I was first starting, it was like 5 years ago, even like this. I would send out emails or calls, and a lot of times I get shut down. And I found out that if I was able to go and put myself in front of somebody and make a name for me, and they'd be able to not just know or see, my Instagram handle, or see my name attached to an email thread, or hear my voice on their voicemail, but to see me actually present myself in front of them, talk to them, communicate with them, and let them know what I'm all about and how much I would be willing to help. I started establishing a relationship right there as soon as I engaged in the conversation. So when I was first starting off, I would be in 50 gyms, throughout the course of a month. So I was always in front of different coaches. I was always in front of different trainers, different players. And it became really easy for me to make these organic relationships because I had no problem just walking up to a coach and saying, hey, you have a great program. I would love to get involved with it and just run a little session for you guys. And that's a huge testament to, first and foremost, your desire to grow as a trainer, understand that it's about the transformation and not about the transaction. Second, you're going and putting yourself out there and offering a high dime service, and you can, you market this as such, offering a high dime service potentially for free. I would say go into it and for your first couple and just offer free offer free sessions if you don't feel 100% confident in who you are as a trainer when training, larger groups. And the second way, which is probably a more beneficial way for you, so that way you're at least making some money and showing that your sessions are of value, is charge $5 for the session. Like, just tell tell the coach or the AU coordinator. Sometimes they hear that and they hear free and they think that that's the value that they're going to get. But if you say, hey, look, I would love to run a camp for you guys, run a session for you guys, and I don't do this very often, but I want to do it for $5, a player. That's when it starts being like, okay, yeah, that's pretty cool that they're going to do it. And, it's only $5. Of course, Timmy's mom will want to pay $5 for, a 1 hour or 1.5 hour session. And now you're making money. So it's not just a lost investment. You're getting marketing value out of it because you're in front of new clientele, and you're possibly getting a training gig that you can parlay into like a once a week training session with an organization. And that's where we can start building. That's where we need to make sure we allocate time. Not everything is done behind a computer. And that's one thing that everyone who's watching this and everyone on our Trainer's Guide to Success understands is we are in a relationship business. We are in a service industry. So you have to understand that you have to go out and build those relationships and be personable with someone, because I can get a parent in the gym once and know I'm confident enough that I can lock that parent into a year's worth of training because of my relationship that I build and the investment that I build with my clients, with my clients on the court. If you don't feel comfortable with your voice, and this is part of the Trainer's Guide to Success is finding your voice. But if you don't feel comfortable with conversation and building relationships, then training is going to be really difficult for you, because we need to learn now that being a trainer is being a teacher. It's being a speaker. It's being a motivator. It's being a big brother. It's being a communicator. Like, there are so many different verbal and things that we have to do from a communication side that build us build our business. So we have to get comfortable with going out and taking a face-to-face approach with these club organizations.
Every time when I hear your answers, I'm like, it just keeps stacking up. Because I know when we first reached out, I was saying how the principles of basketball bleed out into other areas of my life, and really I think that even not just the things you're saying for trainers' guides, but I'm thinking now of like other Blendlogic clients I've worked with, or even expanded your business to kind of have fitness in general with a 30-day program. And so I really enjoy having talked with you and showcasing people your passion. So I got more questions. They're just lining up. So this one is more or less on the lines of it was like a two-part question. She said, how do you manage to get gym time when struggling financially? And then she also added that, similar to what you answered, she was starting out training for $10 for 2 hours, and now she charges 35 to 60 for 90 minutes. So how do you kind of figure out pricing? Like, what's a reasonable price per session? And then lastly, her last question, sorry to put it all in one question, is also like, how do you manage to do your day-to-day responsibilities when you're trying to make, she didn't say, but I assume she means being a trainer, your full-time job. Take it away, Jordan.
First and foremost, you should not be paying for gyms. Not starting off. Hustle, hustle, hustle. I got kicked out of so many different facilities because I was running my business at different gyms, outdoor courts, indoor courts, trying to fly under the radar. There is no shame in that. No shame whatsoever. You need to try to conserve as much, cut your overhead as much as possible, go into as many gyms as possible, and try to run your training sessions for free. A lot of times, like for me, living in San Diego, I would build relationships with the managers of facilities, so that way when I went in and trained at the facility, I wouldn't have to pay a price. What I would do is I'd in turn give free lessons for their son or do stuff for their program. So I had an agenda when it came down to building my session, to building my layout for the gyms and facilities that I was using. But for the most part, I would do as much free stuff as possible. I would not pay for a facility. For like 3 years, I wasn't paying for anything. So that's something that I want you to understand. Whoever this mystery girl is, mystery trainer is, do not pay for facilities right now. Try to do as much stuff for free. The second question was pricing. It's one of the biggest things that I see trainers out there, especially new trainers starting off, doing. You should not be charging the same price as a bad haircut for 2 hours of your work. Like, that is preposterous. And when somebody sees, like if I'm a parent and I see an ad for $10 for a 2-hour session, I'm going to immediately jump off, and go the other way, go an alternate way. Like, that is silly. I would never put my son, Parker, with a $10 trainer, because I automatically assume that's the value that I'm going to get. So if you can find a middle point, if you can find a mean, and obviously, price points are going to be relative based off of geolocation. Like for me out here in California, we are at a premium price for training, but it's also a high cost of living. So, all these things kind of cancel out. So finding the mean, finding what's affordable, for your clients, but still, being on the premium side to where they understand, like, okay, I'm getting a value, for this session, for this work. That's what we need to find. I would also say to cut, that hour and a half, that 90 minutes to 60 minutes. There's no need to extend your hours like that. And if you want to go beyond 60, do an hour and 15 minutes. But there's no point in stretching yourself that thin with your time while not being able to make proper returns based off of what your value is or what you're asking for. Now, to start off, there's no way anybody should be under $40 for an hour session. Absolutely zero, especially when you're talking about private training. Like, that is a group training rate for sure. There should be a group training rate for you guys for sure within the first year of inception for your business. But understanding like when to jump and how to increase your rates is another problem, another issue that trainers kind of find themselves falling prey to or not really understanding. Now, there's a certain thing called inflation throughout our economy, and we need to make sure that our rates are consistent with said inflation. Because if I keep a $175 an hour private training session rate for 3 years, I'm losing money the more clients I get. Like, and I want you guys to understand that. Keep your rate consistent with inflation, but also understand that as you progress throughout the course of a year or throughout the course of a season, your intellectual value is starting to increase. You're starting to get more comfortable and confident. So your rate should also increase a said percentage, each season that you go through your business. Now, there could be 3 seasons throughout the year. If you want to do it like a fiscal season, then that might be a little bit too soon. But I typically have my price bumps at the end of every year, so that way I can keep it nice and consistent. But I want you guys also to realize that when you guys do make those bumps in pricing, those bumps in your rates, to make sure that you keep. Like for me, what I do is I keep the rate at which a client comes into my training for the first time. So that way I can give them something of external value, so an intangible value, where they could be like, oh man, I locked him in when he was this amount, and now he's this amount. But if I'm going to make sure that I keep that rate, so that way we have and that way we have this extra value that we're getting for sessions. So that's another huge thing. Allow your clients to get grandfathered in to a certain rate. Alan, what was the final question?
The last question was, how do you, the person is assuming working, I guess part-time or full-time, and that she wants to make being a basketball trainer. So going from that transition to, how do you go from that transition, and what are your thoughts on that? Jordan, your audio actually is not coming through right now. Not yet. I'm not sure. Sorry for the technical difficulties, Jordan. If you could keep testing your mic, I'll let you know when you come back in. I still do not hear you. It could be the background noise and your mic is trying to cut it off. Let me check. I can hear you now. Keep going?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Probably edit this. I may just post it straight because it's it's honest answers. So basically, I asked the question: how do you go? To reiterate, how do you go from working 9 to 5, I guess doing something you don't love, to being a basketball trainer? If that's your goal, that's your dream. Jordan.
So for me, my 9 to 5 turned to 9 to 3. My 9 to 3 turned to 9 to noon. Noon turned into 5 to 3. So it was easier transition because I had freedom and ability for my desk job, and gave me time to kind of build my client list for my training career, and that way I can cover my net every month and make sure that I wasn't stretching myself too thin. I was still able to live and survive. So I went from a 9 to 5 desk job. I had a couple of clients that I was training after work. And then once those couple of clients kind of continued to grow, and I didn't really have much time to fit in between 5 and 9 p.m., then I started taking some hours away from my desk job. And once again, kept building my client list, building my rapport with the people in the area, with company, different AAU organizations and different clients in the area. And it became a little bit easier of a transition. It was easier of a transition for me. For somebody who doesn't have that flexibility, you have to start getting really creative. So your desk job, maybe 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, and it doesn't allow you to take time off or hours off each day. So you have to get creative and really efficient with the 5 to 9 p.m. that you have during the week, and especially your weekends. Saturdays were my hell days. Like I was literally on the court outside, outdoor gym or outdoor court from like 7 a.m. to like 5 p.m. straight, just running sessions. And that was the most lucrative time because, I didn't have to go into work in the morning. All the kids had off. A lot of them didn't have AAU games. And I pick and choose between Saturdays and Sundays and being able to get on the court with these clients. So that's a huge thing. Being able to maximize your time during the weekends is extremely important. But understanding that you keep your books, you keep your accounting keep your accounting on a string, because you do not want to have make that jump and then be like, oh crap, I only have 2 clients and I have to cover $4,000 a month or $2,000 a month in overhead and expenses, that's when you're going to start running into problems. So understanding how to become fiscally responsible and to manage your clientele, your resources, and your time are extremely important keys to making that transition as smooth as possible.
Awesome. And I guess I'll add that my thoughts on that to that question as well, and to build on what Jordan said on your overhead, is if you are trying to make that leap to, I guess, your passion in life, I would say sometimes really consider what your expenses are, because a lot of times with the clients that I work with, and they're trying to be basketball trainers or whatever clients I have, their expenses they could really, as you say it, trim the fat and really put their expenses down, because most of the time if they just got rid of their luxuries that they are used to, they could really affordably do their dream job. And a good quote that I like saying is, I guess if you are in the 9 to 5, you typically have vacation days. You should be wanting to have a job that you don't need vacation from. And something that I did, when I would just take CTO so I could build Blendlogic. So I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It's like, instead of taking CTO to do something, I kind of just had this idea to use vacation days to work on my business. So
That's brilliant.
yeah. So I feel like the time that is wrapping up. I want to leave it to you to end it with trainer's guide, how to reach you, anything, because kind of to do this outro, for everyone in trainer's guide or who's possibly watching this on the squeeze page we set up, stuff like this is something that we're implementing. And also Jordan has his Wednesday sessions where he answers questions. So Jordan's available for you guys. He's going to do an outro. And I'll just leave it at that. Jordan, take it away.
So everything that we talked about, everything that's going to be found on our website. It's just www.jordan.com. It's one thing, you hit it on the head, successful. We are in this for your success. And we give so many opportunities to reach out to us. We have our own Instagram handle, Trainer's Guide to Success. It's at JLobBall Premium. So everybody on our program can have instant access to me at any time. You can write me a message, write me a comment on one of our posts, and I get back to you guys with answering any questions. So it's such an easily accessible thing, especially in this climate, especially when you're trying to build your business. Like we talked about within this Q&A, is you guys need to have that camaraderie, that impact from somebody that you look up to, or somebody that you look at as being a pioneer in this industry. And if you are ever doubting yourself, or if you are ever struggling with certain areas, having somebody like myself, for instance, as a trainer, is so crucial to be able to bounce ideas off of and to be able to ask for guidance. And there's no shame in it. So being able to say, hey, look, I'm going to stuff my pride in the sack and really go out there and make myself as vulnerable and transparent as possible is so important for you guys to start off with on your trainers, on your guide, and your journey to success. And it goes for even those trainers that are a little bit more established than others. There is no shame in asking others for guidance and help and different concepts to learn and develop and grow, because we are constantly growing and evolving and developing just as the game is. And as trainers, you have to make sure that you're staying consistent with that evolution. You have to make sure you're being consistent with the way you teach and the different methods and technologies that you use throughout your training sessions, so that way you can become an elite trainer, one that's reputable and one that is staying up with the curve and up with the transition of this game. And everything that we do offer, whether it be from our 30-day transformation, which is doing a phenomenal job right now, to our daily sessions, to our Trainer's Guide to Success, to our in-person internships that we host year-round. Everything that we go over, everything that we offer is strictly to get you guys where you want to be. I've had 3 trainers directly underneath me that I've helped go from literally having their overhead consume their lives to now making six figures in just over the course of a year and a half. And that's a huge testament. Just I want to give as much as possible. I want to let you guys succeed on a quicker, more efficient route than I did, and it took me to do, and not make the same mistakes that I made along the way, or at least be able to, make those mistakes and then realize immediately how to adjust, how to adapt, and how to overcome.
I think that's the perfect outro. For anyone looking for the links, I'll post it directly on this video and where we host it, JLaw B-Ball, JLaw B-Ball Premium. Jordan, I appreciate the time, man. It's been awesome.
Thank you so much, Alan. Once again, you are the man. This guy is the truth.
Appreciate it. All right, guys. Take care.
All right, guys. Take care, man.
Yep. All right.